What's up, GD Nation? Zach Edwards here with the first week of game design course. Now, this game design course is something we set up because a lot of people were asking me, how do you design games? And you know what? I would love to tell every single person individually how to design games, but that's impossible. Completely and utterly impossible, especially with trying to get all these other games out that we're working on right now. So instead, what I wanted to do is I wanted to give you the chance to come on and see exactly what we do in order to design games. To start off, though, we're not going to start off right into the design of games. Now, if we did that, we would do you a complete disservice. What we're going to do, starting off, is start you at your core. We want to start you off at a core because the core is what we mean by what is inside of you. We're going to find out why you're doing it, what you want to do, what other people are looking for. We're going to find the core of game design, and then we're going to create a game understanding that core. So this way, you're going to create a product that everyone will love, or at least your niche, your small group of people that you're going to focus on are going to love. You're going to love it. And your cause, the reason why you're doing this, is going to continue you through the whole process, including if someone tells you your game is junk, you should get rid of it and start all over. Well, you know what? We're going to work with you to have you either, and this is the only guarantee we will give you in this course. We will either give you a game that is well thought out, well planned, and everything that you need to produce this game, or we will get you to a process where you understand that you need to go back to the beginning, or at least go back a few steps to create that perfect game. So I'm not going to guarantee you have a perfect game just by coming out of this course, because that would be impossible. For one, it comes up with your ideas. Two, it comes up with the people that you're working with. And three, we have no control whatever you create, or what another person creates. But guaranteed, we will get you to the process where you understand if it's ready for mainstream, if it's ready just for fun and family and friends, or if it's something you really need to start over, or at least go back a few steps and get it prepared. The cool thing through this whole process is we will be here the whole time doing this process with you. We're not just going to tell you how to do it or talk you through it. We're going to actually do it piece by piece. So the assignment today, I did the whole thing. Going through each step on the game design journal. So the things you should have before starting this course. One, you should have access to the private Facebook account, where you're going to be able to talk with other people that are designing games and be able to go off of their ideas, or ask them for opinions, ask them for suggestions of where to go, that type of thing. We want you to be able to be part of this private group because it's a mastermind, basically, of other like-minded people, all coming for the same cause, with the same dreams and desires to create a game. So they're not going to be going after your game. They're not going to try to copy your game. And if you feel that you don't trust the people that are in there because you don't know them, it's fine. You don't have to share certain things. You can ask certain specific questions and see how people respond to those. And everybody that's part of this group are people that have bought into the process. Okay, so you've got your Facebook private group. The second thing is you need this right here on the screen. This is the curriculum. It's a digital curriculum. Every week there's a new curriculum that comes out. It'll come out at a link. It'll bring you to this where you can actually go through the lesson. Then we want you to have the activity page as well. Now, the activity page is basically where we're going to run you through a certain activity, much like I did right here. And the activity you will actually write up in your game design journal. Now, before we spoil too much of the secret of what we're doing, the third thing, the last thing that you need is your game design journal. Actually, we have 4 things you need, but the game design journal. The game design journal is a print off right now. By the time we're done with this whole course, you'll be able to buy the physical copy on Amazon or other stores. But we are proofing this process so that you will actually get to give your ideas. We want to know about this. Well, great. Now, if I had created a physical product before you told me that, you would never have that in the book because it would be a physical product. It'd be done. But we've designed this course so that we have a set guideline. And if you have questions, we're willing to go off on those different directions depending on what your needs and desires and wants are. So if you want to go off on this because you want more information, then we'll think about it. It's like, wait a second, that might be a great thing to do because we want to be able to fulfill that portion of the game design. And so we'll add that to the part. We'll also add it to the journal. By the time we're done with this, again, we'll have a physical journal. And then here comes the great thing. So as I said, we're going to go through this whole process with you. We're going to go through designing our own game just for this course. So all the other games that we have on the side, they're out of my mind. They're gone. They're done. We will do them on the side. We will not do them in this course. This course, though, will be set up so that every step that I'm asking you to take, we will take the same on the game that we're going to design in the class. The great thing is that the graduation gift for passing this course is that physical game. Because I want to walk you through the steps of not just your core, but the end, thinking with the end in mind, producing the paths, the pitfalls, the medium that you want to be in. We're going to go through all that. Then I'm going to bring you through manufacturing, the design that you need to do in order to get to the manufacturing stage, and things to look for before going to manufacturing. We actually have a manufacturer that's teamed up with us. I will not tell you who it is yet, but they've actually provided us with little kits that we're going to give you that will give you all the parts and pieces of a game, and it's called a design kit. So you'll be able to get that for free as well for being part of this course. We've told them that we wouldn't monetize it. We're basically passing it from them to you because they're hoping that you're going to use their services after they're done. And we're hoping that you're going to be able to learn all the parts and pieces that we're giving you right now. So these are all great things that are coming up. Let's get to the course. So these courses are going to be between 30 minutes and 45 minutes. We want you to be able to see all the parts and pieces of this one section, and we will go through each of them with you as we go. So to start off, Milton Bradley is one of my favorite inventors, designers of games. One reason is because of why he did it, the storyline behind him. The second one is my favorite game of all times has always been Monopoly, mainly because of its lessons learned, the cause of the game. Monopoly was a game that taught people about investing, and it was before any of these other investment games that are out there right now. Now, it wasn't the first, but it was one of the most popular investment games. Now, going back to his story, if you read this portion right here, you're going to get a summary of his history. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So he was born into a middle-class family, much like most of you guys. He was able to go through school, and instead of going straight to college, he decided, you know what, I'm going to start working my way into college. So I'm going to pay my way through college because his family couldn't pay for college. So he started up as a patent agent and draftsman for a company and started doing that while going to college. Now, his family decided to move, and because he was living with them, he left as well. And because he left, he had to leave school and ended it there. So he never finished school. So life lesson, some people will go through school. They don't need school. Now, other people that are going to be engineers, they're going to be doctors, lawyers, things like that, please go to school. Especially if you're a doctor. I don't want you in my chest or fixing a break in my arm and not have the training that you need. So there's certain things that you need college. There's other things you don't need college for. If you really want to learn the things that are in college, there's ways of getting it outside. Anyways, I'm not going to go that way. But going with that mindset, that thought process, that's what Milton Bradley did. He left college, went with his family, and then when they settled it down, he actually decided to go to work as a patent agent and a draftsman for a locomotive company. Now, because there was a recession in 1856, guess what happened? He he lost his job. Because he lost his job, he said, I'm going to be a patent agent for myself, and started doing patents and drafting by himself. And then in 1959, Milton moved to Rhode Island, where he started up his first lithography or printing company. And one of the great things with him is his first real success, because as you know, he dropped out of college, he moved around a lot, and he lost his job because of recession. He decided that, hey, I was going to get into business for myself. He started that, but then he went into business as a printer. And the thing that made him most successful is a man by the name of Abraham Lincoln. Now, Abraham Lincoln was going to be the president. He wanted to be the president. He was a nice, clean gentleman. And then all of a sudden, as he was running for president, the story is that a young woman wrote him and said, you would look more presidential if you had a beard. Well, the image that Milton Bradley was printing of Abraham Lincoln was him without a beard. So all of a sudden, Abraham Lincoln started growing his beard, and Milton Bradley's product was ruined. He couldn't sell anymore. And actually, a lot of his customers wanted a refund. They want their money back. So he decided to go into printing games. And the first one he started doing was not his game. It was actually one from England, which was called the Mansion of Happiness. Based off of Puritan or Christian values, it was basically the game of chutes and ladders, where you go on a certain path, but it was based off of morals, Christian morals. And in the middle, the goal was basically heaven. Now, Milton Bradley, he decided, because there was a recession, and it was 1960 when he came up with this idea, he wanted to teach people about getting out of the recession, overcoming the stresses and pitfalls of life. Hey, you know what? Why not call it the checkered game of life? The original layout was actually like chutes and ladders, where you go up, over, back up, over, and back and forth until you get to the top. But there was pitfalls. There was cards introduced. Now, as you know, that changed into like a winding path through life. But because he wanted to get people interested in this game, he picked something that people really wanted at the time. And that was to overcome the depression and the anxiety that came from a recession, a drop in the economy. People were losing their jobs, much like Milton Bradley did. So the first year he produced it, within the first months, he went to New York and he sold thousands of copies. And he said, this is great. So the first year, he sold around 45,000 copies. Now remember, there's not that much competition out there. So he was able to do that, and it became a huge success. And so Milton Bradley was able to create one of the largest game companies in the world. There was also another one that was a big competitor at the time, not that time, but as he started becoming very successful, and that was Parker Brothers. There was actually a war between the two, but I'll tell you more about that later. Now, with Milton Bradley, he had a cause. He wanted to help other people. So yes, he could teach them Christian morals like the Mansion of Happiness, but his was he wanted to teach them about money, about life, the pitfalls, overcoming them, not letting the stresses of recession come out. Now, I've gone through a recession where I lost my job twice. I was in the home building industry, and in 2008, the home building market tanked, and we were all let go. I made it through 3 layoffs in my first company, and then I moved to another place, and I made it through 3 layoffs again, and I was the lowest man on the totem pole. So I didn't take those pitfalls. I decided in my family I was going to do something. So I decided I wanted to create a business that I could take care of my family. Now, my wife at the time did not like that idea, so I went to get a 9-to-5 job again. But Milton Bradley had learned this. His cause was he wanted to help people. When I designed a game, Historical Conquest, I wanted to help people make education fun. Now that's actually changed a little bit to be more of, we want like an 80 to 90% retention in history that the person is learning. So the question is, and this is the part right here, we come to, what is your why? Why are you doing this? Now, most people will say, well, I have a great idea. That's great. But did you know that there's 300 games every month being produced? Well, yeah, 300 games. I mean, that's worldwide, right? Yes, it is. But think of it this way. A game retailer will only stock about 100 games. Now, they'll have multiple copies of those games, but 100 titles. And if there's 300 coming out every month, just having a good idea is not going to get you far. And if that's your only reason why, you're probably going to say, you know what? Yeah, there's just too many games out there. Never mind. I have a great game idea, but I'm not going to do this, take the stress of not having a full income or such. Now, what if you're good at it? Is that your reason why? Well, there's a lot of people that are really good at game design that never created a game, or they create a game and it fails. Because usually it takes two types of people in a game design business. One is the game designer. The second one is the salesperson. Because you can have a great game, but not be able to get it out to the public. Now, a game that salesperson or marketer needs to get it out there. So you might be good at game design, but without that other part, you could fail really fast. So let's try another one. How about to make money? That's why. I'm doing this because I want to make a ton of money. Milton Bradley, he sold 45,000 copies. I can do that too. Actually, you might want to second think that. Okay, so because there's 300 games coming into the marketplace every month, over 3,600 a year, depending on the year. I think it was like 2014, that was like around 3,600 that were recorded. Games that were published and recorded. So a lot of games are not even recorded or part of the statistics. So to make money, Milton Bradley probably had 5 to 10 competitors in the United States, if that. So if he had 5 competitors, 45,000 seems logical that he could make that much. Now, let's say he sold 40,000 and there's 5 competitors. That's 200,000 games. Now, move forward and there's 2,000 competitors out there. Take that 200,000 divided by that 2,000 other competitors. That means you're still about 100 games every year. Now, of course, it's a lot more games being sold right now than there was in the past. But at the same time, take that thought process. To make money, it'll only get you so far because there's so many competitors out there, and a lot of distributors, they can't buy all these games. They only pick the top 1% or the top 0.5% of the games that come out, and they'll actually sell them in their distribution. And if they don't sell them in the distribution, you can sell them to retailers, but you have to go to every single retailer by itself. Now, I'm not trying to get you out of the mindset that you want to create a game. No, I'm preparing you for what's coming up next. Again, this is to find out your cause. Now, is your cause that you want to have fun? If you want to have fun, you can design 1,000 games and not really matter. It doesn't matter if it sells or if people like the game, because you're just having fun. And it's an off time. It's your hobby. Great. This will get you through every single complaint and problem that's out there. Now, it might not sell your games, because that's what I'm going to talk about next. Now, if you're just having fun, you pass it by 100 people, they all love the game, you probably have a winner there. But until you try it through a lot of people, just having fun, that's your reason, and that's a great reason to do it. The last one is a very important one, and it will get you through a lot of turmoil that you'll experience through game design. At the same time, it's also a reason why people will buy it, and it is the cause. Now, the cause is, for me, I wanted to make education fun. I wanted people to retain the information that they're learning in history. So automatically, my cause is a reason why people are going to buy it, because they want to make education fun. They want to retain the information that they're learning in history class. Take Milton Bradley for an example. His cause was he wanted to teach people about money and about life. Well, people were coming out of recession. they were having a really hard time with their lives. I mean, people were committing suicide. People were going bankrupt. People were losing their jobs. All these horrible things. And yet the game of life was there to help them overcome that process. Another example, which is also a game that was purchased by Milton Bradley's company, was the game of Candyland. Do you know what the cause behind Candyland was? For a sweet tooth? No, it was not for a sweet tooth. It was so that kids overcoming the disease of polio would forget about the disease and be able to just have a fun time and focus on the game. So they were able to get some peace. It was actually designed in a hospital, and all the kids on the floor, so in that area, all with polio, were the ones playing the game. And they were the ones that said, you need to talk to Milton Bradley, the company. Now, I actually thought it was the person, and then I looked it up. The dates didn't coincide. As you can see, he was only alive till 1911, and Candyland didn't come out until 1948, I think it was. I just looked this up. So Candyland came out, 1940. So Candyland came out to help all these people. It's the cause. And because of that cause, the people that designed it were able to continue going. And it's also a great sales piece. Again, I said you need a designer and you need a salesperson. And that that salesperson will grab onto that cause and be able to sell it even easier, quicker, if they have that cause. Now, this area right here is an interactive area. I'm going to let you deal with this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go through one last thing. So we were going through the cause. So right here is in your journal, the questions that are asked about what your reason why is. You'll find that in the journal. But I went a step further. I decided I wanted to know what my cause was. So I created it on this piece of paper. It's on my notebook. So my cause is 1, making education fun, 2, retention, and make a really fun game. Now, what's my why behind an educational game? Why do I want an educational game? So I come down here, my why, it's my education was boring. Yeah, I sat through classes and they killed me. Listening to lectures. Now, if you've seen any of my advertisements with Historical Conquest, you'll know about this. So retention. Again, I write it here, but retention. If you're learning from lectures in class, you know how much you're retaining of that? 10%. That means for every 10 words that are come out of your teacher's mouth, you're only retaining 1 of them. Now, what if you're reading it? So if you just read this section right here, no interaction as we find over here, just reading that will only bring you about 20% retention. If you hear it, so the video right here, if you hear it or see it, it's about 30%. Now, that's not good. So I created my why, and there's a reason why I told you that, the retention. I'll get to that in a second. So my reason why is because my education was boring. But go further. Let's see. Why was it boring? Why was my education boring? Because we didn't focus on the stories. We focused on the big picture. We talk about World War II. We get like a bird's eye view, and we don't see anything that's going on the ground. And yet, if you go through any one of our curriculums with the American Revolution, you're going to see the story of George Washington himself, Peter Salem, a slave that shot Major Pitcairn during the Battle of Bunker Hill, and all the things that he experienced. You're going to go through all these people's lives and find out how great they were. And that's what will captivate you. Because as soon as you interact with the curriculum, your retention becomes between 70 to 90%. And if you teach what you're learning in your class, you're going to get 90%. So if you really want to retain what you're learning here, 1, use it, create your game. 2, teach it to someone else. Okay, so retention. Why retention? Because I was an A through C student. Yeah, I wasn't the best student. And why was that? I was nervous in tests. I couldn't remember. There you go, retention. And I didn't like cramming. So cramming, they want you to cram all this information in there and give you a test. As you can see, there's no test with the game design. Why? Because your test is your product that you produce. And it's not a product that you produce that's $1 million idea product. It's that you actually go through the process and you create an actual product and go through the testing. If you go back to the start, you get an A, dude. Yeah, you got an A because you went through the whole process and you realize, I need to go back to the start and try this again. But you have a fully functioning game and you're having people try it. And these are all steps that we're going to bring you through. Now, the last one, fun game. And these are the reasons. Now, we want you to be able to retain this information. So what we did, the next part, is this blue button right down here. It says compare and contrast. This little section explains a little bit about the activity, because if you push that blue button, and just, this is more information about Milton Bradley's life, put on by Hasbro.com and also mentalfloss.com. So turn over to the next page, and here's your compare and contrast activity. Now, because you're doing an activity, the hope is that you're actually going to retain a lot of the information that you're learning from this section. So you're going to probably retain that Milton Bradley had a cause and why he created some of his games, including the game of life. A game of Monopoly, which not him, but his company, was to teach investment. The game of Candyland was to get kids to stop thinking about polio. So you're going to remember the most important thing in a game, or in game design, is figuring out your why you're doing it. Now, compare and contrast. This will prepare you for next week. So we're going to let you do this throughout the week, but I'm going to show you a little bit of what I did. So game design journal, I wrote it all up. I started off in 200 BC with Mokshapa. Mokshapa was actually the predecessor of Chutes and Ladders. So it's a board game. In there, it's all about luck. There's no skill, and it's like Chutes and Ladders. The next one was 200 BC. These are all approximates because they don't really have a date of when these were produced. This was called Laibo. This is a Chinese game put on by a commander of an army in China. He actually created it off the idea of a battle that he had just gone through. Now, it has lots of strategy, and it's like the game of chess. So, of course, it has lots of strategy. It's all about strategy. Now, around the 1500s, or let's just say the Middle Ages, more medieval times, you have Chutes and Ladders. Came out. It was, again, all about luck because it's the roll of the dice, and you might hit a pitfall, but again, you have no control over it, which might actually make you play it again and again because some person can be really good at normal games, but this levels out the playing field. Okay, so you have certain paths, and you also have pitfalls. So certain paths is, again, it's like a checkerboard where you go over, up, and such. And then the last one is there's pitfalls because you might hit a chute and be sent back down to the bottom of the game. Okay, now coming into more modern days. So 1920 was Mansion of actually it was 1924 was the Traveler's Guide, which was a board game, and the board it didn't have room for pieces, which was different than most games these days. You know where your piece goes and you place it in that section. And then Mansion of Happiness was in 1840s. Mansion of Happiness was was one of the first games where they gave you spaces for your your piece to go and follow a certain path. Now chess, yes, they have blocks, areas for your pieces to go, but there's no certain path. This is one where there's an actual path. From Mansion of Happiness, you know that Milton Bradley created the checkered game of life, which was mid-skill level. It had certain paths, pitfalls, because it had cards that would try to have you fall, or when you land on certain places. But it also had a cause. It's where causes were introduced. So I start going through all these games, and then I decide, you know what? I want to change this. I want a little bit more. Now, I'm not asking you to do this for this assignment, but you might want to think about it. So, again, I brought up my notepad, and I started writing up this is my timeline of the level of skills. I don't know if you see this, so there you go. So it starts off with Mokshapat over in 200 BC. At the same time, Laibu. Come down, you come to chess. Now, everything on this side is low skill. You don't need much skill in order to play the game. Over here, you need a lot of skill. So, and then these are the games that go in the middle, where it's mid-level skill. So let's go next. We have Chutes and Ladders. Chutes and Ladders makes it so that it's still, again, very little skill, but it's about the 1500s. Also about the 1500s, you had the game of chess come out in the Middle Ages. Then from Chutes and Ladders, you had Traveler's Guide. Now, Traveler's Guide was not exactly, it didn't give you any spaces to put your pieces, but it gave you a path to travel and ways to get there. And you probably will never see that game before because they stopped manufacturing a long time ago. Anyways, that went to the Mansion of Happiness where there's actual places, spots. So the skill level is moving more that direction. So again, then there's the Game of Life, more Bankers or Banking by Parker Brothers. So all these become more skill leveled. Now at the same time that's happening, Banking comes out, Scrabble, Monopoly, all these skilled games, mid-level to higher skill. All of a sudden there's coming over here. Oh, and then there's also Stratego. So Stratego came out, and that was all about skill because you had to figure out how to get your pieces to capture the other side. Then Risk, Talisman. And so you can see certain paths that this creates. Now, the thing that we're doing with this, compare and contrast, is we want you to see the trends in gaming. We want you to see where games have come from, where they are today, and where they're going. Because this is the main thing that's really important, is you do not want to start up a game like they were doing back in the 1800s or in the, even the games in the 1800s, they've evolved, they've changed to be more modern. But you also don't want to do it in the early 1900s. You don't want to grab a game that the trend's gone and it's not going to come back.
So sorry, GD Nation. Hey, so we just had some technical difficulties. The video got shut off. So we're going to go back to trends. The reason why we want you to know trends is because we want you to be prepared for what's coming in the future. We want you to be able to pick a trend, a place, a position that you want to be, where the game design industry is going. Now, it's not to say that they will actually hit that trend, but it's most likely if you have a spot, and this is current day. These are where game design has gone. This is like the trends of where game design has gone, and it's gone up to today. You want to position yourself so you're right in the place where the trends will hit. Now, they might miss you a little bit, but you're going to create a game that fulfills the new part of the game industry, the new type of game. So we want you to be able to on the trend. At the same time, when you want to have something new, you also want to have things that are very similar. So, for example, card games that were out there, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering. Yeah, those are three that were going fairly strong before the recession, before 2006, 2007, 2008. There were only a few other games that were really making headway. And then all of a sudden the recession hit and a lot of the games went to the side. People stopped talking about them. They stopped buying them as much as they used to be. People just didn't have the money to do it. And then when the recession ended, people started getting money back. Those card games started coming back in. Now, at the same time that those card games started coming back in, more card games started splintering off of Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Magic, and such. Now, Historical Conquest, you know the story. We started up before the recession. And then we came up with a competitor who was the History Channel. They created their own game. And after 3 years, right before the recession, it totally tanked. 1, they mistreated their customers. 2, they mistreated their retailers. And 3, they mistreated their distributors because they were the History Channel. They thought they were higher than thou. And so they could do all these things that nobody else was doing. And they demanded it of their retailers, distributors, and any kind of partners, and including their customers. So they did not last. So there was all these different card games that were starting to splinter off before the recession, and then a lot of them fell to the wayside. Now, Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon Magic, they kept going slowly, but when the recession ended, they were able to pick back up. And then the trends off of those games started going haywire again, and there was all these branch offs of all these different games. Now, by doing that, they were swamping the market with all these different brands and games Now, again, our history, historical conquest, we went up to about 2004, 2005. And then because we had the competitor, we put it away for a while. That was probably the best thing that we could have done because the industry was not ready for us. And we weren't ready for the industry. So the recession hit. We had full-time jobs. We were doing our regular thing. But historical conquest was in the background because that was a trend that had not hit yet. And again, here's current day. Here's historical conquest. It's an educational epic card game that teaches something. And so a lot of the trends are going towards fictional. They're going towards other things. But there's such a swamped market that all those trends are being caught up by everybody else. So there's 1,000 games out there, card games, that are swamping the fictional market. What kind of card game do you know that's out there that teaches history? There's probably 3. That teaches anything, there's probably 5. Epic ones, we cornered the market there. Now, of course, as I said, here's the current day. Here's all the trends leading up to this position. Will we ever get hit? Will people catch on to our trend? Well, you know what? I'm not waiting for the industry to find us. I'm creating our own trend. And our educational games are going to be a huge hit. And they already have been a huge hit, but they're going to be even more. I mean, multi-million, tens of millions of dollars in this industry that we're creating. And yes, there will probably be plenty of competitors when the time comes. But no one will jump in this market because they fear that no one will buy it. They fear that the trends won't hit them. So what? As we talked about, our reason why is the most important thing. 1, we're trying to make education fun again. Doesn't matter if the trends hit there. We're going to find our niche. We're going to sell it to them. We're going to make a good amount of money to reproduce more product. And at some point, I hope that the trend will hit us. The game industry trend will find us and then take off. But the second thing is, so the second thing that's not education is that we're just having fun. We created this game just for fun. It was a college assignment back in 2004. And now it's 2018 and we're doing amazing things with it. I mean, now we're starting to create curriculum where students are able to retain 70 to 90% of the things that they're learning. We're creating all these different things, and it's because of our cause. Again, that goes back to why we're focusing on the cause. Now, all these different trends are really important to know, and that's why we wanted you to come to this activity. So this activity, you can learn about the game of operation, Monopoly, Life. There's one down here called Mall Madness. Where did these go to? Where did they come from? What were some of the games that came before them? And where are they going? So now there's games out there, Settlers of Catan, Ticket to Ride, a lot of ones that are more epic and not for families, but more for social groups. You can find out the trend that you want and then find the games that led up to that point and try to figure out, this is not what you're going to write down afterwards, but these compared and contrasts are basically up to that trend. Look for your trends. What are you looking for? Are you looking games with high skill and no certain path? Or are you looking for games like Monopoly, where it's a certain path, but it does take high skills? Or are you thinking like Candyland, which are more kids games, which have a certain path and it doesn't take much skill at all? So find what kind of trend you want to go. Track them on here because you're going to see where you want to go and where the trends are going, where the market is going to go. Anyways, so that is week 1 of game design course. The game design course was set up to help you not just with building your game, but we're giving you a sure foundation so that when you build on that sure foundation, your game will sit solid for years on end. And we're going to teach you all the different steps so that if something happens and it's not the best game, and when we go to play testing, it does not get the best reviews from your friends, you can go back a certain amount of steps and start back from there. Or you can go all the way back to the beginning. That's why we're here for you. Again, check out our Facebook private page and ask any questions you might have. Join the conversation. We'd like to hear what questions you might have about game design, about this course, about this week. So thanks so much for joining us, and I hope to catch you next time. Take care. Bye.